evening, everybody. Welcome to the Board of Zoning Appeals meeting for April 13th. The meeting is now in session. My name is Francis Sweeney. I'd like to introduce the board to you.
Trying to mute it.
That'll be my next instruction. Please quiet your cell phones. To my far left is Jim Rowe. To my immediate left is Dave Rowan. To my immediate right is Chris Gerald. And to my far right is Todd Goling. What? Oh, and we have Heather Freeman to our far right.
Zoning inspector.
Visiting.
And Jim O'Leary, our visiting counsel. Under the advice of counsel, we ask that anyone speaking tonight must be sworn in. If you plan on speaking, please stand and raise your right hand. Okay. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God. Thank you. Please be seated. When presenting tonight, please come to the microphone. State your name and address. Heather, were the legal notices published in a timely fashion?
Yes, they were.
Thank you. Tonight we have two matters, two conditional use permits. A 3-vote majority is required to approve or deny the appeal or the application. If a request is denied, you have the right to file an appeal. If this is the case, Heather will help you with those details.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
when they come to present their case, they should affirm that they were sworn in.
Sworn? Okay. Thank you.
Oh, let them know.
I think they know already. Please affirm your oath when you come to the rostrum. All right. For our first matter, we have the conditional use permit application 2022-21. Brandon Dines of IN9 Group LLC is requesting a conditional use permit for a car wash in accordance with section 13.26, a conditional use permit for a counter service restaurant ice cream store in accordance with section 13.20, and an outside dining in accordance with section 13.33 for the property located on Cryle and Old Cryle, being current permanent parcel number 08-A-0-20-0-00-048-0. You may come up and present your application.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. May it please the board, my name is Brandon Dines, address 107th Avenue, Suite 150, Chardon, Ohio, and yes, I have been sworn in. As indicated, we're here tonight seeking a conditional use permit for a tunnel car wash under section 13.26 in the Capital District. I think it's notable and appropriate for me first to give you a little bit of background. You may recall that some time ago we were before the board asking for a conditional use permit for a property located on Gold Court, directly to the east of the Verizon store. However, we are here now asking for the same conditional use permit, essentially for a different parcel. The reason we're doing so is Gold Court, in our estimation, from our discussions with township leaders, from our discussions with engineers, from our discussions with neighboring businesses, and from the traffic studies and other things that we've done, we have determined that Gold Court is not the appropriate place for a car wash. We don't feel as though it's really preserving the nature of what was intended for that area by the planners, what they envisioned. And in fact, we feel as though by putting it there, it also does not meet with the aesthetics and some of the other businesses that are present. I think it's noteworthy that section 13.03 of the Township Zoning Regulation provides, of course, that certain types of principal uses are classified as conditional uses because of their uncommon or unique characteristics and frequency of occurrence, large area requirements, or potential for significant impact on a particular district. Based upon what we believe to be appropriate, we think that there is in fact a significant impact which is somewhat negative upon that district, and so we've decided to seek a conditional use permit for the other property, as I mentioned. Beyond that, we feel as though location on our Gold Court lot would have problems with ingress, egress, concerns in our speaking with the gentleman at Holiday Inn about the proficiency in providing of emergency services if in fact cars were outside and stacked upon Gold Court, waiting to get into a car wash, etc. We also have found that our equipment supplier, who's a bit of an expert in the car wash industry, as well as our design build team, Marush Brothers Construction, felt that it was a little bit difficult to do that. So I think it's important for the board to understand why we're doing what we're doing, why we sought a conditional use permit previously, and why we're now moving the operation to a different location. It might be noteworthy for the board to take notice of the Zappy's car wash on Menor Avenue, that most people are familiar with. As you're probably aware, that's typically backed up into Menor Avenue and causes quite a bit of problems by virtue of its existence there and by virtue of the sheer number of customers attending to get into a car wash. Additionally, I think in discussions with some of the business leaders, and what we discovered is that in spite of some of the decibels being lowered inside car washes within the tunnels, just as this one is with the dryer functions, the dryer function should not be directed towards another business. So if in fact we did pursue the conditional use permit on Gold Court and continue to build there, our fear was of course that those dryers would be pointed directly at some businesses, compromising Pizza Roto and others. So what we've done now is, as you have in front of you, you'll see our site plan and what we intend to do with the parcel on Old Crowell Road. I think it's pretty evident that the ingress and egress is off Old Crowell Road. As this board is well aware, Old Crowell Road, of course, is a dead-end street such that there's not a lot of traffic. We find that to be most appropriate for the wash. Traffic, those seeking to come into the car wash will come down Old Crowell Road, make a right into the car wash. There's plenty of space for stacking. They will exit the car wash where those dryers I mentioned that might be a little bit noisy or intrusive are facing to the direct south where the roads form a Y. No businesses nearby, no residents nearby, no one to be bothered by it. Also, if cars were in fact ever to be stacked out onto Old Crowell Road, they would be parallel with traffic on 44, such as their headlights would not be shining upon oncoming traffic in any fashion, and instead shining north and not in any way being obtrusive. The idea there is, of course, that the character of that neighborhood, there's a building next door, not much other development around there other than the Drug Mart, which is to the south and to the east. The character is going to be preserved. The Capital District allows for this conditional use permit, and the Capital District, as you're aware, is almost carved out in a sense. The Capital District primarily comprises of parcels on the far side of, the west side of Route 44, and in fact, this one being on the east is a little bit simpler, a little bit easier, and not in any way, shape, or form going to be detrimental to further development in the Capital District as it extends the other direction. So, in looking at some of the sections relative to this, Section 1305 provides for the general standards applicable to all conditional uses. These standards propose that the location be a harmonious use with all general objectives, have a design that fits within the character of the area, a use that is not hazardous or disturbing, will be served adequately by essential public facilities, will not create excessive additional requirements at public cost, will not endanger the public health, safety, or welfare, and is designed to minimize traffic hazards and congestion. So I believe that our new location sufficiently does all those things. The intention I'll provide the board. I'm used to having to ask if I may approach, but I'm going to just approach. This is similar rendering of what we propose. You'll see this is not going to have any neon flashing lights, any glare issues, or anything that doesn't fit the character of the neighborhood. You're all well aware of what Concord's intended to do and the aesthetics it's tried to create with all of its buildings along Crowell Road and in every business corridor. We feel as though that tunnel car wash constructed in that fashion will do just that. Also, you'll note that, I think as I mentioned before, instead of trying to shoehorn this into a 1 acre or a little bit more than acre lot, we've got 2.5 acres there to accommodate both the car wash and the ice cream store. The ice cream and gelato, under section 13.33, we're asking for restaurant counter service, which is a permitted conditional use in the Capital District, section 13.20, and the outdoor dining, 13.33. This outdoor dining will be contiguous to the principal building, will not occupy or interfere with traffic, be safe for pedestrians. At some point, you'll notice on the drawing there's a drive-through. We're debating that. That would be a different variance that we would seek if necessary. You'll note that the ice cream store, there's one entrance that is not going to conflict with the car wash. That entrance has to, of course, be approved by the county engineer. We don't expect that to be a problem. The access drive, as the code requires, is far from any intersection. It does not get into the way of any intersection or traffic otherwise. There's no traffic impact. There are 29 spaces. Minimum requirement is 22, so we've met that standard as well. Noise is almost minimal from an ice cream store and people sitting outside. We'd hope they're only talking about how good the gelato and ice cream taste. They might want to scream about that. They might want to compliment the beautiful car wash building you've seen in front of you. Other than that, we don't think noise is any disruption, nor do we find that to be a problem to anybody or anyone nearby. By reference, you might find that the building as it's drawn there is going to be likely similar to a Starbucks, an East Coast Custard, a Dairy Queen. Same idea. It's not a huge footprint, a small outdoor seating area, but otherwise the counter service and everything is all contained therein. So again, in somewhat of a summary, if you will, this location, unlike Gold Court, doesn't create a significant impact whatsoever on the district. This location, of course, meets with all the requirements necessary. It's harmonious. As I mentioned, it's an outlier in the Capital District, if you will, which is essentially carved out. There's no issue with delivery of emergency services. And of course, you know, the preeminent question, we bought this parcel with this knowledge, right? We bought the Gold Court parcel with this knowledge. The Gold Court parcel, however, after all the things I mentioned, is not a fit where we believe this one is. We recognize the years of planning, the visions of those folks who put this together. It's critical. It's critical to maintaining what we believe Concord should be and what Concord is and what everyone expects it to be. And we think the car wash and ice cream store will do that. We're people who live in Concord, we contribute to the community, want to contribute to the community. We intend to put in a first-class operation, a beautiful building that people will be proud of, and should be patronized accordingly. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Did you bring samples?
No samples yet, Ms. Gerald. We're working on those.
So in between the car wash and the ice cream store, is that gonna be all green space in there?
Correct.
Nice. And just for my own knowledge, there's no possibility of Old Crow Road getting connected to?
None that we're aware of or have been made aware of by anybody, and I think that would then connect too close to the intersection if I were to speculate on that.
Brandon, is the car wash, is it touch?
It's a tunnel touch, yeah, correct. It's not, for instance, like the Sunoco's got the wand that goes around. It's not one of those. It's a long tunnel touch car wash.
So it looks like there's a few other parcels on that road. The one directly, it looks like to the north. Is there still a building on there? I can't remember if that
There is.
building's.
Yeah.
Is that being used currently?
I believe it's used for some offices during the daytime. It's the old American Heart Association building. There's a buffer of woods between there. And, but yeah, there are, that's the only other occupation on the street right now.
So those dryers would be pointing to the south, I think.
Yeah, dryers are going to go to the south so they don't interfere with that building or anybody else or any future use, because as you can see, the roadway there puts an end to the parcel.
Any other questions from the board?
No? Not for me.
Council?
Any detailing that you're gonna do on site, internal cleaning, is this just gonna be a drive?
At this time, just the drive-through car wash, yes.
When you say at this time,
Well, we'd have to
That
come
leaves
back and
the-
seek a variance for that. It's not part of the plan at this point in time, no. if we were to do that with a bay or something else, we'd be back and make that determination. That's, and when I say at this time, then that's contemplated in the future, for years down the road. The intention now is, with the approval, is to move forward full steam ahead. We have the equipment, we have everything, we're ready to go.
We have other questions at this time. No other questions for me at this time.
All right, there are no other questions from the board. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Dines. Is there anyone here speaking for or against any of the three of these conditional permit use applications? If not, the public meeting is closed on this application, and the chair will entertain a motion to approve the conditional use permits, one at a time.
So moved.
I'll remember that one. All right, second?
Second.
All right.
You
So,
said just for the first one, right?
yeah,
Should we do each one of
we'll do
them?
each one
Okay.
in order.
I didn't hear you, that's why I
Yep.
asked. Sorry.
No problem. All right, so, discussion?
We've seen this. I think that it was very prudent for these folks to move to a different location, and it seems to make a lot of sense. The relocation, that is. And I have no doubt that it will be quality development.
Comments?
Any other comments, or?
I think the attention to the style of the building and everything sort of lends itself greatly to.
I like it. It doesn't scream. I mean, there are certainly,
But
when a building fits in an area, like, somebody drove by Zappy's 4 times today, and it doesn't have, the neon certainly has its place, and the Patriot Car Wash is a little bit different, but I like the design of this. It looks like it could be anything but a car wash too, so
yeah,
it kind of fits in.
good move.
Okay. Well, if there's no more discussion, I will entertain, or I should say that the question for approval, and we'll take these one at a time, is the conditional use permit application 2022-21, requesting a conditional use for car wash in accordance with section 13.26. A yes vote will approve the application, and a no vote will deny it. Heather, you want to call the vote?
Yes. Mr. Rowe?
Yes.
Ms. Gerald?
Yes.
Mr. Goling?
Yes.
Mr. Rowan?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes. All right, that application passes. Congratulations. And we'll now move on to the next application, which is part of application 2022.21, and this applies to the counter service restaurant ice cream store in accordance with section 13.20. Heather, you want to go ahead and take a roll?
Ms. Gerald?
Yes.
Mr. Goling?
Yes.
Mr. Rowe?
Yes.
Mr. Rowan?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes. That application passes also. Congratulations. We now move on to the third and final application under 2022-21, and that is outside dining in accordance with section 13.33 for this property located on Crowell Road. Heather, can you take a roll?
Mr. Rowan?
Yes.
Mr. Rowe?
Yes.
Ms. Gerald?
Yes.
Mr. Goling?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes. All right. That is approved as well. Gentlemen, thank you. Congratulations. We will now move on to the second conditional use permit application, that is 2022-22. Classic Clean Auto Wash is requesting a conditional use permit for a car wash in accordance with section 13.26 for the property owned by Route 44 LLC located at the intersection of Corral Road and Gold Court, being current permanent parcel number 08-A0-0-0-B-00-005-0. You can approach and present your application.
My name is Larry Valines. I'm a vice president with Classic Automotive Group. We're here to talk about the Classic Clean Auto Wash tonight. It's very unfortunate that we followed you guys for this presentation. So we have, with us tonight, we have Kurt Hansen with Tally Construction Management and
Before you
John.
begin,
Pardon me?
could you affirm that you?
Oh, I'm sorry. I have been affirmed that I've been sworn in. My home address is 9960 Rosewood Drive, Chardon. I'm also a long-term Concord resident, just moved out of here a year ago. So Classic Automotive Group has made the decision to diversify and build a group of car washes. We have the first one that we built on Tyler and, Route 615 in Frotchy Court and Minter. We did see the problems that occurred at Zappy's and designed that car wash in such a way that there were no stacking issues. We have a second car wash going in at Green Road in Madison Township that will be completed in a month. This is our hopefully third car wash that we'll be putting in with plans for additional car washes in the future. All the same style, tunnel car washes, a very clean look, very pretty architecture, the curved roof to give it a distinctive style. They're very, it's really a very quality car wash, high quality car wash that just gives a great car wash for our customers. We did consider a lot of things as when we made our decision, and our professionals here will discuss that a little bit further, but we did consider stacking on this site. We considered noise, we considered aesthetics, we considered glare, we considered all of the things, and we believe that our proposal meets all of those needs. So, Kurt, you want to discuss?
Kurt Hansen, Coliseum, 4780 South Pine Lane, Perry, Ohio. Confirmed that I was sworn in. It's a rendering.
Is your home address?
Yes, that was the home address.
Stated, okay.
Yep. Okay. As you can see up there on the screen is a proposed rendering of the car wash on the specific site. You see in the background that is the existing Holiday Inn Express. As Larry kind of mentioned before, that you can see looking at this is modeled after the car wash located in Mentor. This is also pretty much an exact duplicate of the one that is being currently built in Madison right now on Green Road. The construction, as you see, of the building, it is a steel frame with masonry on the lower end and on the column features supporting the canopy, and then the rest of it has a aluminum composite metal panel system. So the colors, so having the white with the red is exactly kind of the prototype that we've been using on the other two car washes, carrying that theme along. So as you see and drive past one, that you automatically know that it is a Classic Clean Auto Wash. That's okay. All right, this works. All right, you can see up on the screen that is obviously the existing site as it stands today. It was kind of a quick outline of the new proposed footprint of the car wash on that plan. And there you see is the new, basically the new site as is with the car wash showing coming off of Gold Court into the site at the far east end of the site, coming in to the three basically pay station lanes. As you basically come through there, and then obviously once you get through the pay station lanes, it obviously will go down into a single file into the car wash tunnel. With what's shown up on there currently right now from the pay stations to the kind of where it's shown that there's approximately 24 cars there, there is room to stack additional probably 2 to 3 cars from that end line to the curb cut, basically from at that point. Also too, at any given time, there will be cars lined up after they go through the pay station, lined up from that point into the tunnel as well. And then as they go through the tunnel, basically going from west to east to basically enter out the east end of the tunnel. And then at that point, you have the option of either turning, at that point, basically heading kind of back north to turn to exit the site, or you can go down to the south to the the vacuum stations, which you see there along the south property line as well. Also at that point too, that there are some parking spaces for employees and staff on the south property line and also up against the building as well, as you see. Kind of going through the thing of obviously Porter 13.26, obviously we feel that we have complied with the A, B, and C guidelines, and obviously our stacking as well as basically meets and exceeds the minimum requirement. Through there as well. That's kind of a quick propose of the landscape plan for the site. Obviously, it will be fully landscaped along Gold Court and along Cryo Road and throughout the site as well. Per the criteria for that zoning district. That's kind of a quick little there as well. It's kind of overall, basically, of our sort of site lighting photometric plan for the site, kind of showing where all the poles width and basically all the poles would be a 14-foot height that complies with the guidelines of the area as well.
John Urbanic, Rockaway Civil, the civil engineer for the project, and I have been sworn in prior. 10191 Sperry Road, Kirtland. I just wanted to add, as from a site engineering standpoint, the two items we typically deal with or attend these meetings for or get involved early on in the site planning discussions are traffic and drainage. Those are always, no matter what community do we do work in, those are always issues we have to address and think about proactively. The drainage on this particular lot is well thought out, and it was installed as part of the overall development plan, so we don't foresee that being an issue. We've already had discussions with Steve Hauser over at the county, and fortunately for this parcel, that doesn't appear to be a major issue, abiding by all the current county and township regulations. From a traffic standpoint, we recognize with regards to these car washes, we've been involved in probably 12 to 15 of these over the last 6 or 8 years. Architects, developers, car wash operators, communities, everyone's concerns are always traffic. And fortunately, this site was arranged at a location which permits, let me take one step back. We're always planning for the 4 or 5 days a year when it's sunny in January or February, and everyone wants to get in there and wash their car. And what we don't want to ever do, no matter what kind of engineering we do on a site, is push the site's traffic issue out into the public road, because it's one thing to deal with managing managing traffic on our site. It's another thing once that traffic starts leaking out onto the road, because then it's the local municipality, in this case the township's issue. So this site is advantageous in the sense that everyone who comes to this site has to go down Crowell Road, and they're either coming from the north or from the south. The location of the 3 drive lanes, or the 3 pay station lanes where they're at, and the location of the pay station is near the front of the site, so that anyone coming up and down Crowell Road, it's very common for these car wash users to take a peek. 99 times out of 100, the activity level at the site meets their needs, and they go in and get the car washed. If that 1 time out of 100, they look and they see 8 cars deep in all 3 pay lanes, they have the ability to continue on down Crowell Road, or if they've already turned on to Gold Court and they make that decision, they simply go down to the cul-de-sac, turn around the cul-de-sac, and exit back out on the Crowell Road. We don't want that to happen because we want all those customers coming into the site, but from a traffic standpoint, that decision is usually made by the person wanting the car wash as they're approaching the site. So I think the location of the 3 lanes approaching the pay station and the location of that being so close to the front of the site and very visible from Cryle in both directions is advantageous to this site, along with the fact, like Kurt said, that it checks all the boxes in terms of far exceeding. I think it's 3 per lane. I think we're up to 8 per lane. So the ordinances and the design guidelines are all met, I believe. I just wanted to add that on top of that, the location of that is such that people coming to use this going up and down Crowell Road are at an advantage where they can make that decision without necessarily having to visit the site and get stuck on the site. So if there are any specifics regarding traffic or regarding drainage or anything civil related, I'd be more than happy to answer your questions.
Thank you.
Hey,
And actually, one more thing too I want to add is we do have a copy of the traffic study report we've had done for the project. I don't know if Heather has that, and actually we have a hard copy as well. So we've had traffic engineering done on the whole property.
Can you give us the
What did
synopsis
it say?
version?
Go ahead. You want to get? So we obviously got the report. We reviewed in detail, obviously with the things. Basically, they came back and based upon our current use and layouts, that the traffic study engineer felt that what we're proposing on the property will not basically affect the area at all. That the current area is designed to handle the capacity of the car wash.
I had a question on traffic. So it looks like you have the entrance, you can turn right immediately to go to the pay lanes, but it looks like you can also go straight. Would that be for people who just wanted to use the vacuum?
Can you pull the site plan back up? There we go. Go back.
So yeah, you would go, it looks like you would go south and then you would either make that immediate right to get a car wash, or you could keep going straight, correct?
Yeah, so basically, because for majority of people coming in, obviously the customers coming for car wash, they'll obviously come in, turn right in, and get into the lanes. They have obviously if it's an employee, they'll obviously come through, and obviously they said there's parking spaces along the south for the customers, basically for the employees, and also along the building as well. Obviously, there are people with the option too, if they just want to come in and use the vacuums, they could come in. They would come straight to the site. Obviously, the main thing, most often we see people come in, get their car washed, and once they get the car washed, at that point, then they would go out, vacuum their car, and then leave the site after that.
So would they? I'm trying to see. Is there a pay station? Do you pay for the vacuums?
The vacuums are free.
Okay. And then, has there been any discussion with Holiday Inn as far as do they have any concerns? Is that I don't know if that's an issue.
They got notice?
They were notified of the request as we notify all the adjacent property owners. They did not reach out to me in any respect, so
no.
I don't know.
Okay.
Well, that was my question. As I'm looking at this, what was Holiday Inn's feelings about 12 hours of dryers blowing at their property and their guests on their property? I don't think there's any rooms on the end. I think that's just all fire exits on the Holiday Inn. But what did they say?
Did you talk to them?
We have not.
You have not talked to them?
But they were notified and they didn't bring anything up.
Right, they were given notice, right?
Yeah, we notified them per the auditors. I'd have to look and see what. I mean,
Well, I don't know where they.
we notified the legal entity, the owner of the property itself,
All right.
which
Well, they got notice.
Okay.
So on these crazy busy days, do you have a forecast of how many cars you think you're going to wash in a day?
We don't have a forecast for what we'll wash here, but we know what we've done at our other locations.
What is the one up by the dealerships on Center Street, like on a super crazy get the salt off day?
So the most cars that we've ever washed in an hour is 108. We have the ability to stack 30 to 32 on the lot, so it's plenty of time to get through. As John said, it tends to be self-regulating. If you're busy, then you will be people will drive by and come back at a later time, because we encourage our people that use our car wash to buy memberships. The memberships are good at any of our locations, whether you're in Mentor, Madison, hopefully Concord as well. If that answered your question specifically, the most cars that we ever washed in one day was, I think it's 1,058, and it was 108 in an hour. And that was on February 1 of this year.
What are the hours?
They're 8 to 8.
8 to 8?
Yes.
I'm surprised none of the adjacent businesses are here, hearing the blowers going, and I find it very interesting that you have a traffic study done. Did the traffic study take 1,058 cars in a day into consideration? Because I grew up in the car wash business, and I know the traffic that is created. I also go to the Zappies, and it really irks me when I cannot get in there to get a car wash.
Right.
So It is relentless, as you know. 108 cars an hour is crazy.
That's one time ever. Our normal.
Well, we know how busy it gets. There's a lot of salt going on in Cleveland, Ohio.
Correct.
And I'm really surprised the other businesses aren't here for the noise, aren't here for the traffic. I don't understand the traffic study. Has anybody seen Chick-fil-A? If you see that all lined up, it doesn't stop anybody from going in. There's no way, there's no doubt in my mind that on these crazy days that traffic is going to be backed up onto that street. No doubt in my mind.
I think if you looked at the math, if we have the ability to stack 30 cars, it's around 17 to 20 minutes to get from the into the traffic, into the driveway, into the beginning of the tunnel. Because it's a very high-speed car wash.
But when people need their car wash, they're going to get in line. And it's just because you have a substantial amount of stacking doesn't mean that it's not going to back out onto the street. And, you know, we have several businesses over there, and Cryle is pretty busy, and you've got a hotel there. Plus, we have all the noise, and I just, in my opinion, I don't think it's the best location. And in my opinion, I think that it's very nice, but I don't think the aesthetic belongs in Concord.
I'm going to disagree with a lot of that. I think the stacking is a good thing. I think, like for me personally, if I see it backed up, I'm not stopping. Even if there's maybe 6 cars there. I'm a guy that likes to get in when it's not busy, get my car washed, and get out. I don't know if it's our job to approve the aesthetics or not. I mean,
It's about being harmonious to the community.
There's also the will not be hazardous or disturbing to neighboring usage. I mean, if you count noise into that, I guess.
There's already a car wash over there in the area as well, over at the Sunoco, the Shell.
The Sunoco has a car wash.
Yes,
Right,
Sunoco.
yeah,
So there already is a car wash, and we approved a car wash, if I'm not mistaken, before in this general area.
Right across the street.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm just saying. Previously, there was a car wash going in, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that was
Right.
this one. So it's the Verizon store.
Right.
And then, like, it would be right adjacent to Roto, but catty corner to Chipotle on that vacant lot of land. It'd be across the street from this.
So it's in the same general vicinity.
That's where the other one
this
was.
business district. So, I guess for me, it's we're not going that far from where it was.
Yeah.
To say like, oh, we're not going to approve this one or approve this one versus a different one that we had approved. And again, if the businesses have been notified and chose not to respond, to me that says either they don't care or they don't have an opinion. And as far as I know, there's nobody. We don't know yet if anybody's speaking for or against this from the public.
I don't know yet.
So I definitely want to take that into consideration. But given this district and the way that the Sunoco looks, I mean, it's got a very similar aesthetic to me as far as the awning, the colors, things like that. So, I mean, I guess that's kind of my view on it. It's like I personally don't have a problem with the location. Again, being a business district, and who knows how busy it'll be if we have all these car washes. So
Yeah, but 2 of them within. I don't know how far that is. A 1/10 of a mile, maybe 2.
3 within 1/10 of a mile.
Well, I really don't consider the Sunoco one. That's kind of a quickie if you get the gas and you buy the car washer. I've probably been through that one like 5 times total. It's got the garage doors that close,
Right.
and I mean when you're committed to that one, you're stuck, and people generally.
And that one gets backed up. That
Right.
one gets backed up pretty far.
Yeah, he's got that little driveway around back.
Yeah. But even that, that'll get backed up, and you're trapped. Once you're in there, you're trapped.
And I think the other one the other car wash that you may have heard, that was the Sheets thing, and Sheets is no longer a thing as of last week.
For now.
For now.
What?
During the trustees, the
Oh, I didn't follow that.
zoning.
Anyway, we could discuss that later.
If I could say one thing about the dryers, because every car wash is different. Our main dryer is the third to the last item in the tunnel. So you go through the rinse, the wash, the pre-rinse, the wash, the scrubbing, and then the next thing you get to is the blowers, and they're third back from the end of the tunnel. Then we have a product called a dry and shine, which is a roller that rolls across the hood of the car, and then down the sides to do, basically it's a nice chamois.
Like a chamois.
Correct. And then after that, then you have the tire cleaner. So really the dryer is three back from the,
What's the difference between a dryer and a blower?
I don't think there's a difference. It's just a blower is a form of a dryer.
But they're all blowers. They all blow.
Yeah, the dryer is a blower, and that is three back. That's a third back. So you have the dryer, the blower, then you have the dry and shine, then you have the tire clean, and then you exit the tunnel. And in our car wash, we have some young people who will clean off your mirrors and dry off your windshield for you as well as you exit before you go to the back stations.
Got it.
Do you have possession of the property? Are you under contract or something?
We're under contract.
To purchase?
Yes.
And when is that supposed to take place?
We've entered into, we're waiting to get zoning approval, and then once we have zoning approval, we'll close on the transaction.
So it's conditional.
Yes. But we have a valid purchase agreement in place.
Gotcha.
It's not a if-come, this is a real deal.
So not like a lease deal.
No, sir.
Gotcha.
No, it's not.
And this was where Cryle Hardware used to be.
I believe so, yes.
Got it.
You know, I had the hardest time remembering when they were telling me that's where Corral Hardware used to be. Once it moved, I forgot.
Right.
Yeah. Hard to picture it there.
When did you guys start planning this?
Planning the Concord car wash.
Mhm.
We started talking about it this summer. Actually, we talked about it a year ago. Drove out and saw the sign that said there was a car wash coming soon on the property across the street in Gold Court. Held off, nothing happened, and so then we made the decision to go ahead and move forward with this one.
Did you know that there was another one being contemplated?
Only after we submitted our application, or started to put our application together and put the property deal together.
From an aesthetic standpoint, how tied are you to the specific look? I mean, obviously you're trying to maintain like a consistent marketing brand look. I guess how tied to that, or is there any wiggle room if that's an issue?
I'd say there's always wiggle room, of course.
Right.
Some of the communities that we're looking at have asked for certain adaptations to meet with their the look of the area that they want it to look like. So we've been willing to accommodate that. So of course we'd accommodate
And I guess,
suggestions.
I guess from the if we're talking about noise, I guess what obviously just kind of for discussion, if this were flipped in a 180, does that change it as far as obviously I know that's not something we're going to tell you have to do right now, but if that were reversed and your blowers, your dryers are going out towards 44, does that change it for the board? Does that change kind of like how you feel about it in that aspect, from a noise aspect?
Well, I mean, I guess it's kind of like a trumpet. I guess if you flip it around, then I guess Holiday Inn isn't too worried about it from that aspect. But the traffic is the other half of that equation. So it's flipped around isn't gonna.
Well, right. I agree with that.
I mean, I don't imagine it's as easy as picking it up and flipping it. But.
No, I would agree. I'm just trying to think of like what changes would be needed to make this something that we would want to improve, if that makes sense. If there are reasons not to, what would make you change your mind?
I haven't made my mind up yet.
I'm not saying if we're trying to decide if these are issues. We're saying traffic's an issue, so we don't know if we can do that. I don't know if they even have the space to put in more stacking. That would be the biggest issue.
I personally don't. I'm not crazy about the aesthetics. Something seriously would have to be done there. The traffic is an objection that I don't think we can combat. And just having 3 car washes right there, I don't think that's in the best interest of Concord either.
I mean, we're not in the discussion phase yet, but if we're gonna have that,
Combining the two.
I mean, we're just questioning him right now.
We need to,
so.
yeah.
And the question was asked about planning. When was the planning started? And obviously it was quite some time ago, but the planning took a next step with some preliminary communication with the township, and the direction was given towards 1326, which, clarified that car wash, we knew that there would have to be a conditional use permit obtained to develop the parcel for this use, but it specifically references A, B, and C in that section, and the goal was to come up with a plan that clearly met A, B, and C, and not only do I feel that they meet A, B, and C, that they far exceed A, B, and C. So the 1326, specifically says car washes shall be conditionally permitted in the BX in compliance with the following, and again, those 3 specific items. Now, I know there's multiple other things that have to be taken into consideration, but those are within the ordinance, the backbone of this, the specifics relative to the conditional use. As it relates to the aesthetics of the building, it's our understanding also, based on that other meeting, is does the the design review board within the zoning commission specifically look at those items, landscaping, building architecture, things like that? And it was our understanding that this was more specific to the use, and the concerns about the look of the building were next in line, dependent upon whether the conditional use based on 1326 A, B, and C was satisfied. So that was from a planning standpoint. Those conversations have been had. I mean, we didn't come in blind. We reached out to the township, before coming to here to confirm.
Well, we're just going by 1305, the general standards applicable to all conditional use permits.
Correct. And the harmonious, I think, refers to the use, because the township had, again, our understanding was, based on the communication we got with this board, was, or this conditional use, and please correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm glad council's here to clarify, because that would be advantageous for us as the applicant. We need to make sure we properly understand, but it was our understanding that the aesthetic of the building was the next board's discussion, and we were going to make a different presentation for that board. But we wanted to make sure with the rendering and with the site layout that we presented a good representation of what the goal was. So yes, I do understand that that's when I was referencing those other items within the ordinance, and that's the list, and the use would be, the use of a car wash would be.
It's not just the use, though. A is, being harmonious with general objectives. B is will be designed, constructed, operated, and maintained so as to be harmonious and appropriate in appearance with the existing and intended character of the general vicinity. So it becomes broader.
Correct, but the township has a secondary means in place. Once the conditional use permit is granted, we don't go apply for a building permit.
We're just going by with what our job is.
No, I understand. I'm just saying, correct me if I'm wrong, the township does have the next step specifically in place to evaluate those items as well, correct?
Do we still do site plan reviews, or is that been?
The zoning board
The zoning
does that.
commission.
So you would go in front of zoning
Correct.
and say, I don't like these flowers.
Well,
Correct.
We used to do that as well.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, we're
So-
just at 1305 is where we are.
And then there were questions brought up about the traffic, and proactively we involved the traffic engineer on all these projects. So the traffic report specifically says that their recommendations were a two-lane drive apron as far from Crowell Road as
I
possible.
don't think the traffic report in this particular case is the be-all, end-all answer.
I'm missing the
I
traffic.
don't, yeah, we don't have the traffic report. I have lived this business. I don't buy it.
Gotcha.
And there's nothing in front of us.
Okay.
Well, will there be an attendant?
Yes, it is. There are A minimum of 3 people working at any one time, up to 5.
And this is only open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Yes.
Interesting.
Zappos is the same way. It's just a noise thing with them.
Okay.
So, I mean, it just seems like kind of appropriate operating hours, I guess.
Yeah. The stacking issue, I think it's adequately addressed. I think that people tend to self-regulate
Yes.
when they approach. Not everybody. And this has been like the catch issue since COVID, because everybody is going out to pick up food and they're going through drive-throughs. And I got to tell you, I don't think there will ever be any issue with this location as bad as there is with Chipotle on any given day between 6 and 7 o'clock. And I mean, it's a nightmare over there. And this board granted that the stacking portion of their application. And we couldn't have foreseen what was going to happen. But it is a huge problem, and I think that that should be addressed before anything else. But anyway, as I see it on the stacking issue, I mean, you have 3 lanes, but they're funneled into one.
Right.
Each pay and then each go as the
Correct.
as
So
the
on
gate
ours-
is lifted.
So there's a gate that drops down, and then it raises up, and it's your turn after you've paid.
Right. So you can have 32 cars in there without even getting out into the
Correct.
entrance.
Right.
Not to mention Gold Court.
Right. So we would never. We were not counting Gold Court. There are 24 cars shown from the on the rendering, and then there would be an ability to stack a couple more without getting onto Gold Court onto the apron. Then there would be able to stack 4 more going into the to the tunnel itself after you've left the pay station, go around the corner. And then, of course, there would be 3 to 4 cars in the tunnel at any one time. But in real life, that happens about once in a blue moon. Most of the time, there's 1 to 2 cars in the tunnel.
Yeah.
You'd like
Doesn't
to see
Classic
it happen
give-
more time.
Pardon me?
I said you'd like to see it happen more time.
Well,
Well,
we
well, this
want
is-
our cake and eat it too, so we really want it to be a good experience for our consumers that drive through, as well as be sufficiently busy. But we really we're not interested in having people stacked up. It's a bad experience, and that doesn't behoove any of us.
Yeah. Doesn't Classic offer free car washes for its
With service,
owners?
yes.
Yeah. With service checks.
Yes.
All right, I don't have any other questions. Anybody else? All right,
Sorry, can we just get one more point of clarity
Sure.
from the board? There's been mention a couple times about concern about so many car washes within a small area. I just want clarification from council. Is that part of what should go into the decision the board is making? Is that something this board should be concerned with? Or is it?
Yes, absolutely, because it goes back to the traffic and the stacking. And so, it's fully appropriate for them to take into account, the number of cars that would potentially come through in the time period, absolutely.
Correct. So no, not relative. I'm asking. Maybe I didn't say it clear enough. Not relative to the traffic and the stacking. Let's say this was on a 5-acre site, and this was the third within a third of a mile. Is it this board's job to make a decision based on, well, there's only so many car washes available? You know, this community can only support so many car washes. Is that something that should be taken into consideration here?
Have you read 1305?
That defines harmonious to me.
Yeah, I think
well, that's an interpretation of harmonious.
Yeah,
what the
sorry.
members
Yeah.
are
I stand corrected.
reflecting is that the Board of Zoning Appeals has more than just the responsibility of looking at that specific request. They're looking at the overall, and that's where 1305 comes into play. Now, them picking colors, and that's outside of their range. But as it pertains to how it's going to look, how it's going to fit into a particular area, that is absolutely something that they would take into account.
Correct. But in term, I guess maybe there's not an answer, but is it the board's job to determine how many car washes Crowell Road can support?
Well, in and of itself, I don't think that that's what they're trying to do. What they're trying to do is avoid what the chairman talked about, Chipotle, which is when they approved that, they never envisioned that the stacking was going to be that kind of a problem. So because of that experience, the tendency is to now be more critical in that particular area because of the trouble that they've had before.
Okay, thank you.
In other words, council, we can't say, well, there's too many car washes. You're not getting that. We can't say that.
No,
Okay, no one can say that.
no.
That's not our job.
That's correct.
Okay.
You take each application on its face. Now, it doesn't mean that you don't take into account the surrounding issues that it presents, like the Holiday Inn Express. However, as they were noticed, they had every opportunity to come and voice any concerns that they had. And they're not here. So, take that for what it's worth.
Yep. All right, do you
I don't
want
have any more
to,
questions.
if there's no more questions, why don't we, if we want to continue discussion, let's
Mr.
let
Chairman,
the
can I,
gentleman sit down.
do you mind if I ask a question
Sure,
real quick?
absolutely.
I just had a question about like over by the vacuums and when patrons are using those. Are there trash cans out there for them
Yes.
or?
Yes, you are.
So just forgive my ignorance, when you say free, do you go through the car wash first and then you can use it, or can any old Joe come in and use it?
We'd hope that you had used the car wash, but there's nothing to keep you from
Gotcha,
doing
okay.
it. Not at all. I mean, you can drive in, you can use the vacuums, you can leave, and there's nobody that would say anything about it.
Now, where they'll be, to take on Heather's point, because this came up at the last BZA meeting, is cleanliness. And this whole issue of you're going to have all these rubbish cans out in this area where they're vacuuming. Is there an employee that's specifically responsible to do that
Absolutely.
on an ongoing basis? So you can assure us that we're not going to have papers flying over to Holiday Inn and different other places.
Short of a 60-mile-an-hour windstorm,
Well, careful.
I can assure you of that.
Yeah, really.
Are the vacuums turned off then after hours, after
Yes, they
8
are.
PM? Okay.
Yes, they're turned off after hours. And the other thing I would mention, is the vacuum system is inside, so there's no noise from the vacuum system in and of itself. So you won't hear this high shriek of the vacuum because we purposely put the main system inside so that all you really hear is just what you might hear at home using a normal vacuum, but if there's not a big industrial sounding vacuum outside disturbing anybody.
Got it.
Well, it's not even in operation when the patrons are asleep
Correct.
in the hotel,
Yes. that's
what I can
correct.
gather.
Yes. Just for me. Any other questions?
All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Unless you have ice cream.
Is there anyone speaking for or against this application who would wish to please approach, affirm your oath, and please state your name and your address?
My name is John Mekich, 6814 Edinburgh Court, Concord Township, Ohio.
Yeah, could you?
Sure. John Mekich, 6814 Edinburgh Court, Concord Township, Ohio. Yes, I did. I was confirmed. Okay, first of all, I live here. I'm a resident of Concord Township, and this is something I've wanted to do for a number of years. So these gentlemen, as they eloquently presented all the positive aspects of their project, that's where I was 2 years ago. I bought the piece of land behind Verizon across from Holiday Inn Express. I was granted a conditional use for a car wash. And over the past year, I took a different approach.
Could you speak?
Yes.
Yeah,
thank
just
you.
try to speak up.
Yes, I am from here, so I took a very different approach. I spoke to Holiday Inn Express. I spoke to Verizon. I spoke to a lot of people in the community about, are they excited about my car wash? And unfortunately, a lot of them were not because of the location. So all the positive attributes you guys said were about the stacking, all that. I had the same issue 2 years ago. I was very positive, but the more I thought about it, the more I saw Chipotle, the more I saw Zappy's, it's going to be a nuisance. Gold Court will be a nuisance for the car wash. And my property is further down, even further from Crowell, which will not present that much of a situation on Crowell as the other car wash will. But your point about aesthetics, I'm from here. I want this to be beautiful. I could easily buy a prefab building and spend half the money, but we're gonna build a custom building so it looks more appropriate for the surroundings, nicer for the community, and something I wanna be proud of. But again, as a result of my research over the last year and a half, speaking to the community, speaking to Holiday Inn Express, I don't wanna be a nuisance to anyone. I don't wanna bother anyone. I want this to be a good thing for Concord. I live here, it's my backyard. So I went and I purchased another piece of land, Crowell and Oak Crowell. I spent a lot of money on this piece of property because it's a better fit. It's just that simple. I absolutely completely understand what you guys are doing. I was the same place 2 years ago, but after doing the research, it's going to, regardless how you stack it and your feasibility studies, you'll find that they're wrong. I did, and it's going to back up. It's going to cause a nuisance. And another thing is, the one gentleman at Holiday Inn Express, his name is Brian, he's a manager, he said, God forbid on a busy Saturday, you guys have 100 cars lined up, you're having a lot of cars going through. What if one of my patrons has an emergency? How's the ambulance getting here? I'm not gonna be stepping in anyone's way. I don't wanna hurt anyone, God forbid. So, like as I said, I went to the extreme. I purchased another piece of land for almost $1 million. It sits perfectly, it has no neighbors, it has old cryo, so if there's any issues, it's all gonna be on that road. I know what they're getting at, that's where I was 2 years ago. I was, and after a year of research and extensive conversations with the community, no one's thrilled about having a gold court. And the aesthetics is a big deal to me. I'm willing to spend double the money to have a custom building all in stone, so it looks nice for the township. Again, I'm from here, I live down the street. I want to contribute to Concord. I don't want to get in the way of anyone's success here. So, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? If not, we'll close the public meeting, and I guess we can continue, or why don't I entertain a motion?
So moved.
Okay, to grant this application for conditional use permit. Second?
Second.
Okay. Before I move for the approval, do we want to continue some discussion here?
I think so.
Yeah.
I,
Sorry, can I have one more thing?
sure.
John, next, regarding that piece of property that I currently own behind Verizon across from Holiday Inn, talking to everybody, they said they would love to have restaurants there. So rather than selling that property, that's my goal, to eventually develop a restaurant there to entertain the hotel patrons across the street, and eventually the other hotel that's going to go behind. So
All right, so which piece of property are we talking about?
right behind Verizon, right across the street from.
So are we talking east of Verizon?
Right here.
Yes.
Okay,
So this is where they're
Gotcha.
proposing. That's
Do-
where Holiday Inn.
due east of Verizon, like right next to it?
Yes.
Okay,
So after talking to everybody, they said they'd love to have a restaurant. So I'm going to keep that piece of property. I'm going to develop a nice restaurant there for our township. Thank you.
okay, thank you. All right, have at it.
He's looking at me.
Why do you think?
Well, I think 1305, I think one of the points that one of the gentlemen was trying to make is that, you know, we can't just make a decision based on, you know, how many car washes are next to each other. Obviously, I'm exaggerating a bit. But 1305 does give us, you know, a pretty vast instruction in which to make a decision. It's not like a variance where we have to abide by the Duncan rules and you know, be more definitive in our decision making. So I will just, you know, we could have these feasibility studies, traffic studies, what have you. I don't even know how they could come up that everything would be fine. I appreciate the stacking. I'm not crazy about how the look is not really that complementary to the adjacent businesses. I am floored that none of the other businesses are here tonight. And I'm worried about the traffic, the aesthetic, the number, I'm concerned about the number of car washes over there. And I'm concerned about the noise, and I'm not crazy about it. I'm not for it.
So skip to your point about the Chipotle thing. Just, I tried to get to the, what do they call it, Chipotle. try to get through there, and traffic at the time was backed up northbound on Cryle to go eastbound to try to get into Chipotle. And it was, during time where obviously I'm an idiot for going at 6:30 when it's going to be that backed up. But to that end, there was a fella behind me that rolled his window down, yelled at everybody because he's trying to get over to Roto to get his pizza, and he couldn't get through. So he had to run up by the coffee, Starbucks, come back down and go to Roto. Yeah. And I don't know how we could have foreseen that. I didn't think Chipotle would be as popular as it is. But to that end, I'm thinking about the same thing on Gold Court. So I'm just checking my understanding here that we have 2 years ago buys the property next to Verizon. Finds out that although putting a car wash there would work, it not wholly popular. Goes and buys another piece of property that would be better because, in his words, because it's better for Concord. Which that's kind of sticking with me there, that that if you're going to go into a great financial burden, and I guess $1 million if you consider a financial burden, yeah, great financial burden to move down the street because this isn't good for Concord here, kind of sticks with me. But on the other side of it is the harmonious thing, and to that end, there's nothing in here that says we can't have 97 car washes in Concord Township. However, my interpretation, no wonder why I can't see, my interpretation of harmonious means that if someone drove through and said, hey, that's kind of curious, there's a car wash there and a car wash there, it seems kind of weird, that doesn't fit my definition of harmonious, personally. And not that I don't consider the Sunoco drive-through single car wash a car wash. I think that's just apples and oranges when it comes to this. As far as the building and its appearance, I've been through the classic one, did a great job in my car. Wheels look great, by the way. And it fits on Center Street. I mean, it fits right where it belongs. And I haven't heard one bad thing about it up there. I'm just kind of stuck on the harmonious and whether or not it fits here.
The harmonious is, I don't know, got a lot of.
It's subjective. Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Again, I certainly agree. Whether there's 3 or 5 car washes along there, it's a part of the system. Who gives the best one, the best price, the best, and a couple of them don't make it. I mean, God bless them, but that's not our call. If the looks of this one doesn't pass muster after we're here, it could. I mean, I don't know in the further reviews, but I have a little trouble of saying, well, getting into the design review part when we're not. I mean, we're kind of letting the emotion get into the thing.
Well, that's the design review. It's not our bag. That's for the zoning folks to
be wide open to.
I guess where I'm sticking is that when the traffic study thing. I mean, I'm not going to go sit there and count cars, but from the Chipotle thing, it's like if I didn't foresee that, and then you see this other one down the street by the old Red Cross building or Heart Association, whatever it was. I don't think there's going to be a problem down there with that one, but here, my fear is just Chipotle number 2, and I don't know if I want to feel that wrath.
Jim?
Well, again, in our purview, because, it certainly seemed to provide the stacking. Mentor, they had to finally, they have to shut down. I mean, Mentor police were so tired of getting out there and controlling traffic at the Zappies. So now they watch the numbers, and they put a sign out, and if you want to loop a couple times, that's up to you, and so forth. So, you know, whether or not the sheriff is going to bug the people if there's too many cars on Gold to shut it down.
The Zappies folks stack in Walgreens now.
Pardon?
They stack in Walgreens. They line up in Walgreens.
They
But-
stop,
No.
they stop you from doing
Yeah.
that. I've tried.
The shutting down of
Yeah.
the place periodically, I mean, just keep a guy out there, and, you know, if I want a car wash while I'm retired, so I go generally, but if it is a peak time, I might do one loop around, and if I don't, just kind of hit, because if you get on their property, it's not that long a wait. But, you know, they say, I guess, as far as being an annoyance, they satisfied it by the shutdown situation to keep cars off of
Right.
Monroe. But how we impose that here, I think we're back in emotion almost. If it happened at Chipotle, it'll happen here.
It happens at Starbucks too.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
I know there's been an approval to move the drive-through lane.
Right.
I don't know if that's actually going to make a difference. That time will tell. But obviously, there's traffic concerns with drive-throughs in this area.
So I guess the
So it's like, how do you?
Cryo Road isn't gonna get less busy.
Right.
Is the point. So, granted, there are different times during the day, but, you know, I guess what's good for Concord, does that mean harmonious under 1305 AB? And C, disturbing the neighbor? I don't know, maybe.
But the
But
neighbors apparently don't care.
Neighbors may not be so concerned about that right now, so. I don't have anything else.
Okay. You know, I think the entire board takes very seriously what their job is, and sometimes it's difficult to know what that is. But I will say that we are bound by the code to the extent that it requires and requests us to, and I quote, find adequate evidence of such things as inharmoniousness, whatever that is. And from what I can see, my opinion as to whether or not, frankly, I think 2 car washes, I mean, let them duke it out. I mean, this is free enterprise as far as I'm concerned, and my personal opinion really is irrelevant. But if you look at the zoning regulation and along with what our job is, I think it's to find adequate evidence of this inharmoniousness. And from what was presented tonight, from the objections, although appreciated, and from the non-participation of those parties who would be most affected by this, I don't see any adequate evidence that any of these objectives have not been met. So, frankly, I don't think I think the issue with stacking and overflow traffic is not going to materialize. Some may disagree with me. I don't think the issue of noise has been proven by any amount of evidence, let alone adequate evidence, that it is going to create a problem, and I think that is the biggest opposition to this. So,
What the noise?
and I think the presentation, I think it looks fine. You know, I mean, so I don't know. We don't have to like it. You know, we don't have to like approving it. But if they've met the requirements, I think that we have a duty to approve it if that's the
That's
case.
why we have 5 people on the board.
Agreed.
I guess for me, I think going back to the harmonious, so we're voting on with 13.26. We take into consideration, obviously, all the regulations, 13.05 being one of them. And it's saying be harmonious with and in accordance with the general objectives or with any specific objective of the township comprehensive plan and or zoning resolution. And I think what stands out for me is that this is in a business interchange zoning district. So I think for me, it fits that.
All right, if there's no more discussion, we will move to the adoption of the motion to approve. And Heather, can you take the roll?
Yes, yes I will. Mr. Rowan?
Yes.
Mr. Rowe?
Yes.
Ms. Gerald?
No.
Mr. Goling?
No.
And Mr. Sweeney?
Yes. All right, and I believe that concludes
Old business.
the new business.
Yes. Oh, sorry.
Old business, do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the date, what date?
I move to approve the minutes from December 8th.
December
December
8th.
8th.
Thank you. So moved, second?
Second.
Okay, those minutes are approved.
Took me about 3 days to read them. Kept nodding off.
We appreciate you, Jim.
Oh. That did come out really great.
And I believe that is it. And if that is all, that will conclude the meeting for this evening. Thank you all for coming.